Nighttime has always been my favorite part of the day. I look forward to my alone time, lying down on the couch, eating some ice cream, and scrolling on my phone with my favorite show playing in the background until my eyes get tired. But the little device glued to our hand that follows us around all day can turn into the enemy. What was once a nice night can suddenly shift in an instant, all because we heavily rely on texting as a main form of communication. Take a minute to think. Have you ever sent a text and then immediately thought, wait, did that sound mean? Or were lazily texting someone back K instead of OK, and now have someone thinking they did something wrong? Suddenly, you're overanalyzing everything. I've unfortunately been there many times, and I know many others have too. When you think about it, it's kind of strange. We so heavily rely on technology to pass across our messages. We have full conversations without even saying a word out loud. My question is, how do users convey emotion and attitude through nonverbal communication in text messages to avoid miscommunication? In this project, I have interviewed 8 different people between the ages 16 and 25, trying to figure out not only the different ways that they've experienced miscommunication through nonverbal communication, but how they've responded to resolve the issue, and any changes that they've implemented in their everyday texting style to avoid those same conflicts. The first question starts off asking, have you ever misinterpreted someone's tone in a text message that didn't use expressive notations? Alyssa Marks, born in 2005, answered, yes, I've misinterpreted someone's emotional tone in a text message. It's hard to tell what someone's voice is talking in when there isn't an emotional expression to associate it with. Emma Lewis, born in 2006, answered, yes, honestly. I feel like someone is mad at me if they don't use an emoji or an LOL at the end of their text. Sometimes it makes me question if I did something wrong. McKenna Wolf, born in 2004, answered, yes, all the time. There are a lot of times where I can't tell if someone is being passive-aggressive or actually being compassionate when they sent a text without emotion. I never know how to react, and it always leaves me feeling confused. From my findings, I've discovered that the level of miscommunication is far more common than I thought. While I conducted all of these interviews, the answers I received were without a hesitation, showing that this is a relevant and common issue. Stated in Chapter 6 of Communication in Our Lives by Julia T. Wood, she states, nonverbal communication is more restricted in digital and online communication. Digital communication may compete or interfere with face-to-face communication. Since I now knew the commonality between conflict and texting, I was curious on the variety of different ways that led to those misunderstandings. So with the next question I asked was, could you provide a specific example of miscommunication? With the answers from so many different people, I could truly see the variety among different answers. Daniel Gregg, born in 2000, answered, I remember one time in high school, my mom texted me. She said, where are you? Period. I was just out with friends, but misinterpreted it to be in a mad or worried tone, when it turns out she was really just curious. Tanya Bazin, born in 1999, answered, one time I had to turn down plans with friends to go to a family event. When I told my friend, she responded with, have fun. The lack of expression truly made me question if she was being sincere about my family plans or was trying to show that she was upset to me canceling plans. Audrey Richardson, a professor at Cleveland State University, wrote a whole article around trouble she personally experienced in college through text messages. She published this article in February 2021. She quotes, I was having trouble on an assignment in college and emailed my professor for guidance. Days went by and I hadn't heard a response, and when I finally did, he had what seemed like an attitude, or as if he was frustrated with me because he was responding with one-sentence replies. Not only did all these answers show that there are so many ways that miscommunication can happen, but it can cause different emotions as well, such as sad, frustrated, or confused. So now that we have seen the different ways misunderstandings have caused conflict, I wanted to look more into the resolutions. The third question I asked was, how do you go about resolving issues that arise from texting? The results I got for this were the same across the board, which I found surprising but very understanding. Ashley J., born in 2000, Emma Lewis, born in 2006, and Caroline O'Brien, born in 2002, all gave answers of the same form, in-person communication. They all agreed that the easiest and most effective resolution was meeting in person to talk about what happened. So I wanted to wrap up the interview with one final question. How do you implement expressive tone in text messages to ensure that there is no conflict like experienced previously? Molly Price, born in 2007, responded, I use exclamation marks and add extra letters on top of words to indicate an excited or upbeat tone. I've learned recently that adding emojis and punctuation helps get your message across with true tone because it allows the recipient to understand the way the word or message should come across. Sarah Page, born in 2005, responded, if I want someone to know if I am frustrated or excited, I tend to use emojis that pair with my emotions, such as a smiley face or a sad face. I also like to use a lot of exclamation marks if I'm excited or need something urgently. Sometimes I will even type in all caps. She followed up by saying, I definitely think that adding emojis and other nonverbal cues in text messages adds an emotion element to the conversation, which more closely resembles a face-to-face communication. It helps the recipient understand how you're feeling and respond in an appropriate text back. Additionally, Dawson Hahn, a professor at the University of Michigan, spoke out about effectively showing emotions through text back in 2023. He says, the challenge of accurately conveying emotions and intentions through written communication in a digital environment is widely recognized. In order to overcome the challenges, recent studies have shown that to convey a speaker's emotion and tone correctly, rather than plain text, is including font style such as bold and italics and larger font size, followed by appropriate punctuation. And additionally stated in Chapter 6 of Communication in Our Lives by Julia T. Wood states, to improve our nonverbal communication, monitor your nonverbal communication. Interpret others' nonverbal communication tentatively through both person and contextual qualifications. Ultimately, the goal of my research was to determine the emotions brought on by lack of textual cues in everyday life, and steps one can take to eliminate conflicts. No matter what, texting is a big part of our everyday lives, and it isn't going anywhere anytime soon. Arden Olia, writer of a blog published in 2024 called Text Message Statistics and Trends of 2024, he says that mobile users in the US alone sent 2 trillion text messages back in 2024. That is nearly 6 billion messages per day and 227 messages per hour. So, while we spend more time communicating through text messages, it is important to use emotion. Emojis, punctuation, and a little extra clarity can really go a long way.